Everyone knew. The Hulbert family and the Rowell family were sworn enemies. Their industries overlapped extensively, and the rivalry dated back to the previous generation. When my eldest brother, Mike Hulbert, took over the family business, he was so obsessed with defeating Joseph Rowell that I wouldn't have been surprised if he'd pinned Joseph's photo above his bed just to stab it with a pocketknife each night. They'd been at it for over a decade, and my brother lost, completely and utterly, until that one banquet. No one knows who started the joke, but Joseph Rowell chuckled, then, on impulse, slung an arm around me and kissed me. The whole room turned to stare. I tilted my head back, ready to curse him out, but instinctively, I kissed him back. And at that moment, everyone slowly turned to look at my brother. Ah, so the Hulbert family was playing the beauty trap now. Welcome to History channel. Subscribe to follow all our latest adventures. Story begins. I always thought my brother had a tragic childhood. The name Joseph Rowell ran through the entire first half of his life like a curse. Even after our parents stepped down, the torch of this familial rivalry was smoothly passed to Mike and Joseph. My mom used to say, "Your brother's perfect, except he takes things too seriously." She wasn't wrong. He was only a year older than me, yet acted like he was my dad. That overly serious big brother energy? It mostly went into beating Joseph Rowell. After watching my dad lose to Uncle Rowell time and time again, my brother took it upon himself to avenge the family name. So growing up, I often heard things like, "Joseph Rowell stopped wetting the bed at 3. Mom, when did I stop? Joseph can ride a bike. I'm learning one with gears. Gotta be better. Joseph had his first summer ice cream. Uncle Jean from now on, stock hours earlier. He got taller again. Someone complimented his looks, again. His face is smaller but his features are bigger. He won another award. He scored 3 goals today." And I'd chime in, "How many did you score?" "None. I wasn't even playing." By high school, the reports had upgraded. Joseph got 10 more love letters this month than I did. He brought in 50 million more in profits this quarter. When the hell did he get an 8-pack? Once, I leaned in to take a peek, and my brother slammed the magazine shut. "Look at me instead. Your brother's still handsome." I grew up listening to Joseph's accomplishments like a bedtime story. Sometimes I wanted to shake my brother and say, "Come home. You're in too deep." At one point, I even feared he might be falling for Joseph. Which, of course, was impossible. Still, my mom wasn't taking any chances. She saw the mortal enemy turned wife arc creeping in. So the moment my brother returned from studying abroad, she started parading pretty girls in front of him. At first, he rejected them righteously. "Not until I've defeated Joseph Rowell." Mom just hummed, filing her nails, and said coolly, "Baby, why don't you at least meet this one?" That night, he came home, and for once didn't mention Joseph. Not that day, not the next week, not even that month. Once, when a new ham dish appeared on the dinner table, my mom asked the housekeeper where it came from. Mr. Joseph Rowell sent it. By that time, our dads had become fishing and chess buddies. According to my mom, she and Mrs. Rowell often attended auctions together. The best rivals, it seemed, made the best friends. So when more and more Rowell-branded items crept into our house, nobody really blinked. But that day, we all turned to my brother. He looked up, delayed as ever. Mom smiled. "Joseph Rowell." He paused. "Oh, is that so?" Then finished his meal like a gentleman and went upstairs to voice message his girlfriend. Watching him leave, my mom muttered, "He really gives off that playboy vibe. Joseph's such a catch. If only we had a daughter, I'd absolutely set them up." Then she looked at me. I bared my teeth. "Want me to introduce a friend to him?" Mom visibly shivered. She murmured to herself, "Why do both my sons seem so off?" I met Joseph Rowell long before my family ever knew. Strictly speaking, I wasn't exactly a normal child. My mother was the first to notice. I rarely spoke, but I could mimic and learn anything almost instantly. The tutors she hired were stunned by my ability to not only imitate but innovate. Eventually, A whole team came in to run tests. I overheard the doctor say to my mother, "The good news is, Wesley is exceptionally smart. His scores are rare, borderline prodigy." Mom clenched her hands, then glanced at me. When our eyes met, she smiled softly before turning away. "And the bad news?" The doctor adjusted his glasses. "Wesley doesn't talk much. That's likely to be the norm." A very polite way of saying something far worse. And since the doctor had worked for our family for years, he needed to keep his job. My mom's voice trembled. "What can we do?" I was tiny, barely upright, but her trembling voice bothered me. She was always smiling, elegant, radiant, just like the wealthy heiress she'd been born to be. Someone like her shouldn't crack. Not for anything. Not even for me. So I learned to pretend from a very young age. People in our business circles always praised me. So polite, so clever. Whenever eyes landed on me, I smiled on cue. But I never let myself get too caught up in school or competitions. I always watched others first. All my teachers used to sigh and say, "Wesley, if you could focus a little more on yourself instead of others, your grades would be unbeatable." I'd nod and apologize, and then do it again next time. When the teachers brought this up with my mom, she'd laugh and brush it off. "He's already doing great. He's still top of the class, isn't he?" On the way home, she'd praise me. I looked at her for a long time and finally said, "Once I know how fast everyone else is running, I don't need to slow down just to match them." My mom looked at me in surprise. I raised a hand casually. "So next time, no more calls home from school." For once, she frowned. "Son, this isn't trouble. I love you. I need you to bring me a little trouble, or I'll start feeling like a useless mother." Then she added gently, "It's just the kind of love you can't help but give to family, even if it's a little too much sometimes." After that conversation, I picked a time and went to see Joseph Rowell. I knew he'd be in the backyard reading when no one else was home. My brother had even recruited at least 3 of Joseph's friends to act as informants. So I made my way to his house. He looked up at me. It was summer. He was dressed casually, short sleeves, shorts, and simple house slippers. But when his eyes met mine, I still felt like this boy's presence outshone the sun. He was undeniably good-looking. At least in the looks department, my brother didn't stand a chance. He raised an eyebrow, a flicker of curiosity in his voice. "You're Wesley Hulbert?" My brother's arch-nemesis was tall, handsome, and carried that dangerous kind of charm that only clever, slightly reckless boys seem to master. He pulled a can of Coke from the little fridge beside him and handed it to me, giving me a once-over. "Damn, you're actually good-looking." The guy clearly had a thing for cold stuff. Even while talking to me, he was stuffing ice cream into his mouth. "Sit," he grinned, dragging over a chair and shoving a popsicle in my face. "It's boiling. Let's go inside." I followed him into the villa. He happily said something to the butler, then led me up to his room. At the door, he glanced back. "Aren't you afraid of me?" His eyes crinkled with that boyish smile. So rare, so genuine. Limited edition Joseph Rowell. He used to smile like that. Not so much anymore. Now, the only time he'd let that boy resurface was at night, when emotions boiled over and he'd whisper roughly in my ear, "Wesley, call me husband. Just once. Come on, I'm listening." "Why would I be scared?" I said calmly. "Our family's DNA codes are probably transparent to each other by now." Joseph blinked, stunned. "No one told me your code looked like that." He showed me around, his 2-story library with 5-meter-high ceilings, bookshelves that needed ladders, perfectly preserved models and trophies. I humored him for a while before saying, "Stop messing with Mike Hulbert." He looked at me, half curious. "He can't beat you," I said seriously. "But he's my brother, and I don't want you playing with him like that anymore." I hesitated, then added, "I know all the intel he gets is stuff you deliberately leak." Joseph took another bite of his ice cream. "And how'd you figure that out? If you were really the best at everything since childhood, with your IQ, You wouldn't be leaking your own data that carelessly. If you are, then it's fake. He looked at me in silence for a moment. It's real, he muttered, like he was trying to convince himself. Fine, he finally said with a shrug. If you agree to come hang out with me now and then, I'll stop. I didn't think much of it. My weekends were usually free. My mom trusted me, barely tracked where I went. So from that day until I turned 17, for 3 or 4 years, I visited him every weekend. We didn't even do much. Sometimes he grilled. I brought pastries next time. He knew I liked ham, so he'd have someone pick it up. I'd bring him gifts in return. Most of the time, we just read in his study. He loved ice. Every season. At 14 or 15, he'd shiver while eating it. A few years later, he grew quieter. He started mixing crushed ice into every drink and downing it in one gulp. I knew he was growing up. The Rowell family business was nearly his now. Then, one early summer day, he looked at me and said, "Wesley, I'm going abroad soon." I closed my book. I didn't know why, but something inside me felt hollow. But I was used to being the good kid. So I smiled. Then I guess I won't come by anymore. Just for a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Complex, intense, too quick to name. Back then, I wasn't sure if his promise to stop tormenting my brother was sincere. Because soon after, all the academic gossip about him dried up. In its place, love letters, compliments from strangers, rumors of his sculpted abs. Thanks to him, my brother started downing protein shakes by the gallon and managed to grow some decent muscle before getting married. Men's abs are the best dowry, my mom muttered. Then paused. Maybe that's a bit much. Couldn't he find a middle ground between career-obsessed and love-struck? To the outside world, Joseph and I met when I was 19. At a birthday party thrown by the daughter of one of my mom's friends. Joseph had stopped showing up to these events after going abroad. This one was a rare coincidence. Or maybe not. My dad said Joseph's father was trying to arrange a match between him and the birthday girl. I watched as he was surrounded by beautiful women. Standing at the center of the crowd, he looked older, more refined, but also more distant than ever. I'd known this was coming. The longer our fathers waded through the business world, the less of themselves they retained. Even my brother, who doted shamelessly in private, was unreadable at work. I watched Joseph play his part all evening, navigating social cues perfectly. I waited until the intermission to catch him alone in the garden. "Don't go back in," I said, irritated. Joseph looked at me. "Why not, Wesley? You reply to my emails like we're nothing more than polite acquaintances. So what makes you say this now?" Without thinking, I kissed the corner of his mouth. "Joseph Rowell, seeing you blend into a crowd, treated like some marriage prospect, they're trying to reel you in. It pisses me off." He clearly didn't expect that. He shot me a sharp look, eyes darkening. Then took 2 quick steps forward, grabbed my face, and kissed me hard. I'd never seen Joseph like that. Desperate. Like if he hesitated even a second, I'd change my mind and disappear. He kissed me like a storm. Somewhere in the chaos, with his teeth grazing my tongue, I heard him growl, "Wesley Hulbert, you little brat. Love in youth is wild and sincere." I was the only one in either family who stayed behind for college. My brother always joked that our mom spoiled me, wanted to keep her youngest within arm's reach. But I knew better. She still remembered what the doctor said about me when I was little. "Wesley's brilliant. He'll thrive anywhere." I never minded. What was hard was being apart from Joseph Rowell. After that party, he almost instantly reverted to his cheeky, devil-may-care teenage self. I kept visiting him on weekends. It started with reading in his study. Then he began pressing me against the wall for kisses. I always had to leave before dinner. He'd cling to me at the door, voice low and sticky. "Just one more kiss, Wesley. One more and I'll let you go." Some nights, even after I was in bed, I'd get a sudden message. Stars told me Wesley's thinking of me. "Open your window." I'd look out, and there he was, waving from the backyard. If you spoil someone once, they'll never stop. The next time, he dared to climb up to my third-floor window. I got so mad I nearly pushed him off the ledge. Joseph Rowell shamelessly slipped under my blanket. "Wesley Hulbert," he said, giving me his best impression of a heartbroken look. "I'm leaving in a week. Is it really so wrong to just want to hold the person I like while I sleep?" No, it wasn't wrong. But the next morning, before the sun was even up, I had to sneak him out. At the same time, my brother was already awake, grumpily listening to overseas financial reports at 6 a.m., indignant over the fact that Joseph Rowell had already mastered the markets in 2 countries. Later, when he found out what had really been going on, he almost lost it. "You mean, while I was practically killing myself to stay ahead, that guy was upstairs in bed cuddling with my little brother?" We'd been together for over a year by then. Joseph Rowell loved being abroad. No Hulberts. No Rowells. Just the 2 of us, walking hand in hand down the street like any other couple. Italian gelato was heavenly. On snowy winter nights, Joseph would lounge around in a tank top with a blanket over his shoulders, blasting the AC and throwing the windows wide open to catch fresh snow, then shove fistfuls of it down my shirt. At formal family banquets, we'd sneak behind doors just to share a kiss. By then, my brother had stopped comparing himself to Joseph. His favorite new hobby was holding my sister-in-law's hand and flaunting their love in front of Joseph. Joseph acted like he didn't care. But under the table, he was viciously stomping on my shoes. Snow fell endlessly that year. The dads drank together, while my mom and his mom knitted sweaters and exchanged skincare tips. Joseph, meanwhile, held me tightly behind the curtains. Outside the window, my brother and his wife were building a snowman together. "Wesley," he whispered, "when can we stop hiding?" We really thought it wouldn't be long. Eventually, my brother beat Joseph for the first time, fair and square. Our parents finally agreed to let him stay unmarried. Joseph's parents didn't. Stories never go quite the way you want them to. That kind of wild, consuming love rarely survives youth. The year Joseph graduated, my mom and sister-in-law were out wedding dress shopping. A car crash. My sister-in-law shoved my mother out just before the car exploded. In the end, fate punishes everyone who loves too deeply. I had never seen my brother like that. Everyone in the Hulbert family knew Mike wasn't the smartest of us. As kids, I'd assemble toys after one glance. He needed 3. But we also all knew he was the one who'd inherit it all. Mike Hulbert had always been our son. And when Jane Dial died, that sun dimmed completely. He didn't leave his room for 2 weeks. When he finally did, he was skin and bones. My mom had also been seriously injured. Her legs wouldn't move for months. Our business fell back into my father's hands, and I ran between the office and the hospital with him. But no one blamed my brother. We were all just waiting for the pain to pass. 6 months later, at dinner, he casually said, "Mom, Dad, I won't be getting married." He said it like he was talking about vitamins, or fussing over someone's breakfast. Like the mornings when he used to scold Dad for skipping his blood pressure meds, or criticize Mom's oil-free fried eggs for being not so oil-free, or nag me about how many bites of food I'd taken. Mom's hands trembled around her knife and fork. She wasn't angry. She wasn't worried about the family line. She and Dad both knew he had done everything. And even giving it his all, he still couldn't escape the grief. Couldn't return to normal. Couldn't come back to life. They were just heartbroken. That dazzling future of Mike Hulbert. It had ended that year. He smiled, calm as could be, then turned to me. "Wesley, it's your turn now." And in his eyes, I saw my own fragile, reluctant smile reflected back. "Sure, bro. I'll take it from here." That was when I broke up with Joseph Rowell. I did it cleanly. Didn't even let him come home. I flew to Italy to see him. The moment he saw me, his face was full of concern. "I heard what happened to the Hulbert family," he said. "I'm already digging into it. Don't worry, Wesley. I'll help you." I gently pushed him back. "The Hulbert family will take care of its own," I said. "You should be congratulating me." My parents asked me to temporarily take Mike's place. Joseph stared at me in disbelief. Wesley? I smiled at him. The same flawless smile I'd learned to show everyone else. Men pale in comparison to power and wealth. Joseph Rowell. From now on, if we meet in the business world, don't go easy on me. Those 2 years were chaos. The crash set off a chain reaction of investigations and traps. We were busy reorganizing, defending ourselves, tracing the hand behind the accident. And somehow, I stopped thinking about Joseph Rowell. Now and then, Mom would mention him. Said he hadn't returned from abroad. Said Uncle Rowell came over to play chess with Dad and always left grumbling. Mom would glance at me. I'd gently remind her it was time for rehab. She'd sigh, then murmur, "But that boy's incredible. He's moved most of the Rowell family's business overseas, and he's handling it all like it's nothing. Still, I doubt he'll ever come back." I'd hum in reply, gaze drifting to the blooming roses in the back garden. Time to take down the ladder I'd once hidden for him. It was 3 years before I saw Joseph again. At another banquet. My brother was grumbling as usual about the terrible wine from the last cocktail hour. I laughed, stepping into the hall with him, and saw Joseph Rowell standing in the crowd. 3 years ago, his aloofness had felt like a boy copying his father. Now it was something else. His cold, sharp presence. It was part of his bones. We locked eyes across the room. He raised his glass at me. My brother remained calm, hands in his pockets. "Mr. Rowell really is something," he mused. "The Robson heiress waited 5 years for him. Guess she finally got what she wanted. Word is, he's here to marry her, and then he's gone for good. Once, they were rivals for life. Now, my brother spoke about him like a stranger. Mom was right. In some ways, my brother really was a heartbreaker. The Robsons eagerly introduced us all, pulling us into the same circle. It was summer again. Joseph sat beside me. His glass was close. Out of instinct, I picked up the tongs and dropped an ice cube in. "Oh ho," Mr. Robson chuckled. "Mr. Hulbert knows Mr. Rowell likes his drinks cold?" But Joseph suddenly moved his glass away. "Not anymore," he said coolly. He handed the drink to the server. "Get me a new one. No need to ruin a good bottle." My hand froze midair, still holding the tongs. And I remembered, when we were teenagers, sitting together drinking sodas. He once shoved the ice bucket at me. The doctor said no more ice. But I can't help it. "Wesley, watch me. Don't let me have too much." Then, every half hour, that lanky teenage arm would reach toward me. "Wesley, ice. Gimme my ice." Mr. Robson broke the silence. "There's plenty of wine. Let me open another bottle. By the way, have you all met before?" My brother slung an arm around my shoulders. "No need for introductions. We grew up together." He clinked glasses with Joseph, then suddenly turned to me. "Actually, I don't think you two met much. Wesley was usually at school when you visited." "Joseph, look, Wesley Hulbert's all grown up now. Do you even remember him?" Joseph never once looked at me. He just said, flatly, "Is that so? Can't say I remember." That night, for once, I didn't leave with my brother. He thought I'd gone off to have some fun on my own and didn't question it. I found Joseph Rowell alone in the Robson family's garage. No chauffeur. No bodyguard. I lunged at him in the dark, yanked his collar, and crashed my lips against his, desperate and unthinking. He was half a head taller now. He grabbed my hair, trying to push me off. We looked like we were fighting, hands rough, breath harsh. I tried to kiss him. He resisted like hell. "You've got guts, Mr. Hulbert," he sneered, kissing the Robson family's future son-in-law in their garage. I stared at him. This boy, this man, I had known since I was a teenager. We'd been together for a year. I had loved him for 5. And now he shoved me away like I was nothing, smirking like a bastard, calling himself the Robson family's son-in-law, calling me Mr. Hulbert with that cold, mocking edge. I said, "The Robson family isn't even close to the Hulberts. If you wanted a marriage alliance, you should have picked us." He let out a scornful laugh. Then he looked me in the eyes and said, word by word, "What's the matter, Mr. Hulbert? You not having kids anymore?" I grabbed his collar harder. "You damn gay bastard, stop messing with innocent girls." He shoved me off, rage flashing. "Wesley Hulbert, you think you're better? You're worse than me. I'm just gay. You'll screw anyone, man or woman." He turned to open the car door. I felt my breathing grow shallow. Joseph paused and looked back. "What's wrong with you?" I smiled darkly, my face flushing. Loosening my tie, I popped open the top buttons of my shirt. That last glass of wine I drank, it was spiked. I drank it. So go ahead, leave me here. Someone's bound to find me soon. Joseph slammed the car door shut. The engine started, then abruptly cut off. He yanked the door open and dragged me into the back seat. "Wesley Hulbert, you absolute asshole." He didn't drive. Once we pulled out of the garage, his driver was already waiting. He didn't take me to the Hulbert family. Didn't go back to the Rowell family, either. "To the hotel," he told the driver, turning to me. "You can still walk away." I didn't answer. He dragged me out of the car, all the way into the hotel. As soon as the door closed behind us, I tore at his suit and shirt. He grabbed my hands several times. Then, furious, he threw his jacket on the floor and pinned me to the bed. "Wesley Hulbert, what makes you think I want to sleep with you right now?" I leaned up and kissed him hard, tongue forcing his mouth open, and slipped the pill I'd hidden beneath my tongue into his. Joseph pulled back, eyes blazing. "What the hell did you give me?" "Just something I brought for you," I said. Back then, in that 1 year we were together, we never actually slept with each other. I never understood why he held back. Later, I would think back on it with a bitter kind of regret. I knew what I was doing now was shameless. But this was the last time I'd ever have him. Joseph Rowell was leaving the country for good. This was my only chance to be close to him again. I was never a good person. And all through the night, I heard him whisper my name, again and again, as if the drug wouldn't let him stop. At some unknown hour in the early morning, exhausted beyond reason, I startled awake, and found myself alone. In a panic, I started to crawl out of bed, my whole body aching. That's when I saw Joseph, shirtless, standing by the window, smoking. I didn't even know he smoked. The flicker of his cigarette cast his expression in harsh light. He didn't look pleased. I lay back down slowly, closed my eyes, and tried to pretend none of it had happened. How could someone look like that after sleeping with the person they loved? But that was the thing. I loved Joseph Rowell. No matter how hard his hands were at the start, I told myself it was just lover's play. It was Joseph. I could take it. So yes, I had slept with the man I loved. But Joseph Rowell hadn't. When I opened my eyes again, he was still there. Sitting on the balcony, chain-smoking. Beside him, his favorite bottle of liquor. The ice cubes in his glass hadn't even melted yet. He saw me stir and said, "I put new clothes and shoes over there. Wear them before you leave." I turned my back to him and began dressing. He was silent for a long time before suddenly saying, "Size was right." Then, almost to himself, he laughed bitterly. "I never really saw you clearly before." I looked over. "What did you say?" He stubbed out his cigarette, pulled on his jacket. "Nothing. You're still a damn bastard, Wesley Hulbert." And then he left. After he was gone, I peeled off the new clothes and curled back up in bed. The bed that still smelled like both of us. It would never happen again. I slept for hours. Joseph had been rough, yes. But he'd planned everything well. I wasn't hurt. No fever. Just tired. The hotel staff didn't come knocking. Joseph Rowell, for all his fury, still handled things properly. When I finally stirred that evening, my phone buzzed. It was my brother. "Where the hell are you, Wesley? Get back here now. The house is a mess. Joseph Rowell's lost his damn mind." When I got home, the whole damn cast was there. My parents. The Rowell parents. Joseph Rowell himself. My brother was pacing like a lunatic, nearly dragging me inside before I'd even stepped through the door. "You're finally back. My brilliant little brother." He clutched me like I'd just returned from war. I had a bad feeling. "What happened?" I asked. He yanked me into the living room and dropped down beside me. My dad cleared his throat, visibly uncomfortable. "Wesley, how could you do something like this?" I glanced at Joseph. He didn't even look at me. Just sat there, stony and silent. My mom looked like she'd just laid eyes on a rare antique necklace she'd been stalking for 6 months. But since Joseph's mother was beside her, sighing like a tragic heroine, she had to rein in her joy and offer tea instead. I braced myself. I figured Joseph had spilled the story of what I'd done the night before. So I calmly admitted, "It was me." My brother clutched my hand dramatically, barely hiding his glee. His face looked tormented, but his eyes were practically dancing. "So," his voice cracked from excitement, "you really lured Joseph Rowell in with your seduction, made your move, kept him for years, and then dumped him?" Every head turned toward me. Even the mothers, longtime best friends, looked ready to burst. One was thrilled. The other, thrilled, then horrified, then thrilled again. Their faces seesawed between pride and panic. "What?" I asked, utterly lost. Joseph Rowell gave a cold scoff and shoved a stack of photos in front of me. There I was, 19, kissing the corner of his lips in the Robson family's garden. There I was, gasping under his kisses at the Rowell family estate, flipping us both against the wall. There I was, fuming in the dead of winter while he dug ice from a bucket. There I was, slapping him at school for kissing me in front of my junior classmates. I glanced at Joseph's blank face. Impressive. He'd kept receipts from years ago. If he weren't in business, he should have gone into journalism. Twisting the narrative like this was an art form. And last night, this same man had pinned me down and... Joseph gave a low cough and said, voice cracking with faux vulnerability, "What, you're not going to admit it now?" Everyone stared. Even Joseph stopped breathing. I stood solemnly. "I admit it," I said. "Yes, I looked at him, eyes reddening. "I used him, then threw him away." Joseph turned away sharply. "But," I continued, "I love him." He whipped around. And finally, looked at me. My brother gave my hand a firm pat. "Well done, little brother." A true Hulbert, through and through, finally brought some pride back to our name. Then he caught our father's look and quickly cleared his throat. "But we don't endorse scumbaggery, okay?" He didn't even finish the sentence before Mom smacked him clean across the head. The room fell into awkward silence. The so-called victim, the one I had played with and discarded, naturally took the seat beside me. My parents were whispering to each other. I heard my dad mention marriage alliance and get increasingly animated, only to be shut down by a single sharp look from Mom. I panicked and grabbed Joseph Rowell's wrist. My brother tensed, as if afraid I was about to slap someone. But I didn't. I looked at Joseph, voice slightly trembling, and said, "Your engagement to the Robson family." Joseph raised a brow, a trace of unreadable hope flickering in his eyes. "Oh, and what do you want to say about it?" I looked at him seriously. "You're not allowed to go." A smile tugged at the corners of his lips. He gave a bitter laugh. "Wesley Hulbert," he said quietly, "you always make it so damn easy for me to forgive you. There was never an engagement with the Robson family. Never. You said it yourself. I only leak what I want others to know." "The Robson rumor?" "I made sure your brother found out, and only your brother." He went on. "I always knew. When I liked you, you didn't feel the same. Then one day, out of nowhere, you wanted to be with me. And just as suddenly, you left. I know you never really had me in your heart, but Wesley, I'm not a good person. You don't get to walk away untouched after messing with me twice." I opened my mouth to speak, but Joseph raised his voice. "Uncle Rowell, don't worry about it. I know you want to marry Wesley off. You all can relax. As long as Wesley Hulbert doesn't marry, I don't need a title. I'll treat the Hulbert family like a marriage partner regardless, and offer full cooperation between our families. Every elder in the room stared, jaws slightly ajar. Except my brother. He looked like he wanted to drop to his knees and thank the heavens. Because that was how you win. Make a man like Joseph Rowell willingly become your brother's shadow lover and still bring his family fortune to the table. My mom stood up, flustered. Joseph, that's not necessary. But Joseph's face hardened. What if I trade you Jane's whereabouts for the deal? My brother bolted to his feet, voice shaking. Who did you just say? Joseph swept his eyes across my family. Jane Dial. The fiancée who didn't die 3 years ago. The one the Robson family secretly took away. The room exploded. The elders could barely keep up with the twists. But my brother, he moved faster than I'd ever seen him. Upstairs, changed, barking orders. George, bring people. We're leaving now. Joseph lifted a hand. His men followed in force. He looked at me as he stepped out the door. So now, Wesley Hulbert, we're finally in the open. But if you even think about getting married. He bit the rest back, teeth clenched. And I sat there, completely lost. Married to who? My mom, ever the seasoned socialite, caught the thread first. She looked flustered but clear-headed. Joseph, I think there's been some miscommunication. Wesley didn't know about the arranged marriage. It was your father's idea, not mine. I didn't agree, so Wesley was never told. Joseph turned to me. His eyes widened slightly, relief, joy, disbelief all at once. Is that true? I nodded, pulling him toward me. I always thought I could sacrifice everything for the Hulbert family. But when I met Joseph Rowell again, I realized I couldn't stop loving him. Joseph Rowell, there's no girl I'm supposed to be responsible for. There's only you. I love you. From the start until now. That's never changed. Jane came home that very day. The Robson family had kept her in a hospital all this time. Turns out, they knew they were going to be exposed for orchestrating the car crash, so they kept her as leverage. Mom had blacked out after the explosion, which gave them the cover they needed. We'd been digging into the Robsons ever since, but were waiting for the right moment. And when my brother heard Joseph Rowell might marry into them, he'd held back, for our sake. But the moment Jane returned, he acted. My parents didn't object. In fact, they pulled every string they had. Everyone knew now, the Robsons had pissed off both the Hulbert and Rowell families. They were finished. Jane had been locked up for 3 years. But when she saw my brother again, she only looked a little worn, her spirit still intact. They say the first thing she did was touch his face and ask, "Was it hard these 3 years? Did you think I was gone? Mike, I knew you'd find me. That's why I never let myself grieve." That's when I finally understood why Mom had picked Jane Dial from among so many better-off options. And what kind of woman could make my brother fall in love at first sight? None of that mattered now. The broken mirror had been made whole. When my brother sent out his wedding invitations, we were occupied. Joseph and I were in his room at the Rowell family's estate, doing, well, things. It escalated fast. I tried to stop him. We didn't even use anything today. Joseph grabbed my hand and placed it on his abs. Don't tell me I need pills to be into you. Wesley Hulbert, after all these years, you really are a damn bastard. I stammered. So you only came back because you heard I was getting married? Joseph didn't answer, just kept biting my lip. I whispered, "When did you start loving me? I thought it was me first." No answer. Just more reckless kisses. I suddenly remembered that night at the hotel. The way he stood at the window, smoking alone. Back then, I thought he regretted sleeping with someone he didn't love. But now I knew, he thought he'd slept with someone who didn't love him. He couldn't bear it. But he couldn't let go either. Maybe that's why he'd come to my house. One last try. My chest ached. I tried to hold him, but I was too weak. Half conscious, I still heard his voice coaxing in my ear. At the hotel, you called me husband so sweetly. Do it again, Wesley, just once more. Lately, my brother's been in a great mood. At first, I thought it was because Jane came back. But then he said, well, yeah, mostly that. But also... He peeled an orange for Jane and added, 1. Joseph Rowell now has to call me brother, and he asked to. 2. I got married before he did. Life is perfect. Joseph had no objection to calling him brother. But the marriage part, that bothered him. Even when I told him, again and again, that once we moved abroad together, he could marry me however he liked, he still brooded. To the public, nothing had changed. The Hulbert and Rowell families still looked like rivals. But behind the scenes, my brother never stopped thanking Joseph for bringing Jane back. He never said it outright, but everyone knew the Rowell family was back in favor. The business world took note. Mr. Hulbert and Mr. Rowell fought for over a decade. And in the end, Mr. Hulbert lost. Completely. Right before my brother's wedding, we attended a baby's full-month party. I'd always thought his childhood was kind of sad. Someone once joked with him. When people laugh, they look toward who they love most. And Mike said, dead serious, don't say that. I like to look at my wife even when I'm not laughing. Everyone swooned. That day, I dropped some ice cubes into Joseph's drink. He smiled, pulled me close, and kissed me without warning. Gasps echoed around the room. I turned, ready to scold him for acting out again. But I kissed him back before I could even think. He grinned. Mr. Hulbert, pure love. Nah. When you're smiling, you should be kissing the one you love. At least we'd even the score. My brother ground his teeth in frustration. And once again, the crowd turned to him with a smirk. Ah, so the Hulbert family really did resort to the beauty trap. The end.
Thanks for stopping by. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos.